Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name's Han, I'm a hand embroidery artist, and in today's video I'm going to be talking a little bit about embroidery on leather, and I'm going to be going through the steps that you can take to embroider a pair of boots or leather shoes in a similar way that I've done here. I recently posted these boots on Instagram in a giveaway that I'm currently running. The giveaway is ending on the 23rd of February, so head over to my Instagram, which I'll have linked in the description of this video if you want a chance at winning a pair of these hand embroidered cowgirl boots. If you are watching this video a little bit later than the 23rd of February 2025, I'm sorry, the giveaway has ended. So while this video isn't going to be a tutorial style video, which I usually do when I'm talking about hand embroidered footwear, I am going to be going through the items and the supplies that you will need to complete a similar embroidery project to this. Spoiler alert, I actually did not go into why I did not make a tutorial of these boots. So hi, this is Editing Han, and I'm just here to let you know that these boots took me roughly 50 to 60 hours of embroidery, obviously not all in one go, and it would have been super hard to film an embroidery tutorial video over that kind of time span, and I usually only worked on these boots for like 30 minutes to an hour every week. I will be going into why that was the case in this video, but I just wanted to pop in and say that. Okay, back to the video. So firstly, to address some comments that I feel like I might get in the comment section of this video, I know I usually caution people against embroidering any kind of leather boot, leather footwear, like Doc Marten boots, and anything of a similar thickness, and this is because it is extremely hard to embroider through leather, and that fact hasn't changed. These boots were extremely hard for me to embroider onto. They actually took me almost 6 months to complete, and that was obviously with me working on them for just a couple of hours a week, sometimes not even hours, just like 30-40 minutes here and there. And I am a hand embroidery artist for my profession. I embroider shoes every single day, and these boots almost broke me. They were so difficult to embroider, which kind of leads me into my next little disclaimer here. If you are a beginner embroidery artist, if you're just getting started out in this craft, I would not recommend picking up a project where you are embroidering on any kind of leather, especially if you're doing this craft for enjoyment. These boots were not that fun for me to embroider because the process was so lengthy and it was so difficult on my fingers. So yeah, that is just my last little disclaimer. If you're brand new to this craft, stay away from this project. You're still obviously welcome to watch the video, but I needed to add that little disclaimer in there. Would not have felt right if I didn't. Okay, so now let's hop into all of the supplies you will need if you do want to complete a hand embroidery project on some leather boots or leather shoes. And as always, I will have all of these supplies linked in the description of this video just to make it easier for you to pick them up if you do want to do this project yourself at home. The first thing you're going to need are some embroidery needles. I say some embroidery needles because you are going to break some embroidery needles during this project, and I feel like I say this in every single video, but you do not need a specific kind of embroidery needle to embroider onto shoes, and you don't need a specific kind of embroidery needle to embroider through leather. Any embroidery needle will do. I do like the embroidery needles that DMC makes. They seem to be high quality, but I'm gonna say this until I am blue in the face. Embroidery needles are the same wherever you get them from, whatever brand. If you get them online, if you get them in person, they're pretty much all the same thing. So for this project, I think I broke about 11 needles over the span of almost 6 months, which might not seem like a lot to you, but I don't break that many needles in my day-to-day embroidery work. I probably break 1 needle a month at this point, like nothing crazy, and usually that needle has been bent within an inch of its life, and then one day it just gives up. But I don't usually break that many embroidery needles, which should show you that 11 embroidery needles on one embroidery project is kind of hectic. That's kind of a lot. And usually when an embroidery needle breaks during a shoe embroidery project, it's because you're pulling the needle through the fabric at a really weird angle and you're straining the shaft. It usually doesn't have anything to do with the needle itself and like the strength of the needle or the brand of the needle or whatever. So those were all like technical issues. Like on my part, when I broke those needles, I was like pushing it at a weird angle. I was just like trying to get it through the fabric. But just keep this in mind if you are thinking of doing this project and you're trying to pick up some embroidery needles for it. You will probably need a multi-pack. To be safe, I'd say like 20 to 30 needles just in case. Secondly, let's talk about embroidery thread. You are going to need a few different colors depending on the kind of design that you want to embroider onto your leather boots or shoes. I think I used a variety of like 8 to 9 different colors to embroider this design. It's a fairly simple design, but I wanted to go with like a wildflower kind of minimalistic look. I knew I didn't want to load these boots with too many florals, too many stitches. I wanted to keep the design design relatively simple and not even embroider too many leaves. As you can see, the stems on the sunflowers are completely bare. I was not going to risk my fingertips to add more embroidery to this design that had already taken me almost 6 months to complete. And again, similar to my sentiments about embroidery needles, any embroidery thread will work. I do like to use DMC embroidery thread a lot of the time for my professional work, just because it is a higher quality embroidery thread and it's less likely to tangle when I'm embroidering, which ultimately makes my life and my job much easier. But there are actually a bunch of cost-effective, budget-friendly embroidery threads that I do recommend for people who are just picking up this craft. But yeah, those will be linked in the description of this video, and usually they come in multi-packs with a bunch of different colors, so you can just buy like one of those multi-packs and you are set for like whatever design you want to embroider, which is nice. A lot of the times with DMC embroidery thread, you have to buy it skein by skein, which basically means you just have to buy one little pack of embroidery thread in a specific color and then add a bunch of those in different colors to your cart, which can get really annoying and pricey. Next, you are absolutely going to need finger protectors if you are considering doing a project like this at home. I tend to use silicone finger protectors. They work really well with my fingers. I know that a lot of people like to use leather finger protectors and metal thimbles, and honestly, for a project like this, I would absolutely recommend investing in some metal thimbles. I personally don't have any on hand to show you because I exclusively use these silicone finger protectors, but any kind of finger protectors that you can get your hands on or your fingers into, excuse the pun, they are going to make this project doable. Honestly, without finger protectors, I would not even recommend considering starting a project like this. I was working on these boots maybe once or twice a week and my fingers would be throbbing after 30 minutes of embroidery. I cannot even imagine. I probably would have only got like 5 minutes at a time done if I wasn't using finger protectors. And a couple of the times I did like injure a fingertip with the force I was trying to push it through the leather with. It was just a bit of a nightmare. I feel like I'm not really selling this embroidery project to those at home who might want to try it. Alongside the use of finger protectors, I would also recommend, I'm not 100% sure what they're called, so I'm gonna have them linked in the description of this video, but they're essentially like little slabs of leather. They usually come in like a square shape. It's like really thick leather that you basically use as like a little shield between your fingers and the needle. So like when you're pushing the needle through the fabric and then when you go to pull it through the fabric again, it's like a little extra padding and it gives you like extra grip on the needle and extra protection for your fingertips, because sometimes those needles will injure you on both the sharp side and the non-sharp side when you're pushing it through a really tough fabric like leather. And then obviously you are going to need some scissors to cut your embroidery thread. I usually recommend a really small, really sharp pair of scissors because it makes your life much easier when you have to go inside the shoe and snip off excess thread. For a project like this, if you want to embroider onto cowgirl, cowboy boots, some sharp small scissors are essential because you don't really want to be going in with like a big pair of kitchen scissors and like trying to cut your way to some excess thread in there. You want to go in with a really tiny pair and just be really precise, because it's not as easy to get inside the shoe, especially towards the bottom of the shoe if you're embroidering the bottom of stems and stuff like that. I did get a lot of questions on Instagram about what the inside of the boots look like, but I actually didn't back the embroidery on the inside of the shoes with anything. I never do. I keep my embroidery super neat on the insides of the shoes that I embroider, and as long as the boots or the shoes are worn with socks and skin isn't coming into direct contact with the inner stitches, the stitches will last for as long as the footwear lasts. Embroidery thread is way hardier than it looks and it's not going anywhere, so I don't feel the need to back these boots with anything. The embroidery is super neat and tidy and it will last. Okay, so those are all of the supplies you'll need if you do want to attempt this project at home on your own. And as far as the recommendations I have for the design and the kinds of stitches that you want to use, the biggest piece of advice that I want to give you is to keep your design as simple as possible. You can create a really gorgeous, aesthetically pleasing embroidery design with some really simple stitches. I'm thinking straight stitches, back stitches, and the occasional French knot. I actually think I added a little too many French knots onto this design for the inner area of the sunflowers, and those got really difficult to embroider towards the end. Like when I had almost filled the inner part of the sunflower, it was really hard to make more French knots because I had already like overpopulated the space. Embroidering on leather is so much more challenging than embroidering embroidering on like a breathable fabric like cotton or the canvas Converse that I usually embroider onto. Leather is very much just like a thick slab and there are no air holes in it. It's not woven like cotton or canvas. So when you're pushing a needle through it, you're basically breaking through that really thick fabric, which makes it so much more difficult to embroider onto, even though the end result can be super cute. These boots that I embroidered onto are from Thursday Boot Company. I really love their boots. They're super high quality, but again, I can't speak to any other brand of leather cowgirl boots, cowboy boots, because these are the only pair I've ever embroidered and these are the only pair I ever plan to embroider. So you might have a pair from a different brand and you might be thinking, okay, I could get behind this project, I might start doing that, but you honestly might not even be able to get a needle through that fabric, so just test it out a couple times first before you set your heart on this project. I think the thickness of leather is like different for different brands of cowgirl and cowboy boots, so just keep that in mind. But it was possible on this pair of Thursday boots, so I will have these linked in the description if you would like to purchase a pair of these. Okay, I think that is everything on my list that you should know or you should gather if you would like to start a shoe embroidery project on a pair of leather shoes or boots. Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you've gotten this far. Don't forget to go and enter the giveaway over on Instagram. I will have that linked in the description of this video, and I hope that you maybe feel confident enough to try this project at home. I know I didn't exactly sell it as a super easy project. I just want you all to know what you're in for if you do want to do a project like this. I'll pray for your fingertips, they will need it. If you haven't already, I would so appreciate it if you would like this video and perhaps subscribe to my channel. I make a lot of embroidery tutorial style videos and a lot of small business related content, so if that sounds like something that you enjoy, I would definitely consider subscribing to this channel. Thanks again for watching and I will see you again in my next video. Bye!